Hello, everyone. We are hopping on today because we are so excited to share with you our Rethinking Resolutions course, challenge, adventure, journey, whatever you want to call it. And we wanted to talk to you a little about it. So you probably know I am Tova, one half of the Go Boldly initiative and
I
and
love it.
joining me is the other half, Riley, how are you doing?
I am great. And yes, we are so excited about this rethinking resolutions that we're launching. And so we're starting in February this year, but you can join anytime, you can start any day you want to start. It is built so that it will work whenever you join, which is one of the great things about it. But we want to give you a little sort of background information about why we're even doing this group challenge, and why it's so important to us as life coaches, as humans, as moms, as women, as people functioning in the world, and people who really, really dislike this concept of new year, new you that gets thrown at us every single January. So we're recording this in January, but as I said, you can really, really start this like any time of the year. I personally set goals, and I know Tova does this too, sets goals, throughout the year. It's not like
Yeah.
I set goals only in January and then forget about it for the rest of the year. Like that's it. That's all the goals I'm going to reach this year. And I'm sure many of you listening and participating are the same way. So if you are listening to this in July and you're like, yeah, this sounds great, don't hesitate to sign up and join us.
Well, it's the way I like to think of, I have some daily readers, and they are like every day, like this is the date and this is the reading that associates with that daily reader. And then I have other daily readers where it's just like open it up and pick a page
Yeah.
because and some of them I do follow day by day, but there's something nice about the lack of stress associated with a daily reader that's just like read something each day, and it doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't matter the order you read it. And we're recording this in January, we're launching in February, but and that was kind of part of the plan. Part of the plan is also that we just like January to be like a chill month for us mentally.
Yes.
But but it's also because so many people will have already like quote failed at their resolutions by February 1st, and certainly by March 1st and April and May. And there are reasons for that, and it's not because anyone's a failure.
No.
And so we want this to be the kind of group when you're feeling inspired, or maybe your birthday's in May and you focus on setting goals around your birthday, or maybe you're a teacher who you really focus on that goal setting time to be in the middle of the summer, or whatever the rhythm of your life, whenever the rhythm gets you, like you can you can join, and you're not going to be behind, you're not going to be ahead, you like it's going to be right where you should be.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. And so we want to talk to you guys a little bit about what has worked for us in the past and what hasn't worked for us in the past when we ourselves have set goals, because we're human and we've set goals and not reached them before, and we've set goals and reached them before, right? Just like everybody else. And I know certainly for me, when I set a goal and it has, just not a lot of purpose behind it. Like if I'm setting a goal because I feel like it's something I'm supposed to want to do, like run a 5K or something like that, or if I set a goal like I'm going to suddenly stop eating gluten, um because everyone is not eating gluten and it seems like it would be healthier for me and I feel guilty like I should be healthier or something to that effect. And there's just not really like a purpose and fun and enjoyment and excitement behind that goal for me,
mhm.
then it really in the past has not been a successful goal for me. Can I will myself through it for a few weeks, few months, sometimes even a year? Yeah, I can. Do I enjoy it? No. Is it successful long term? definitely not. So, just like everybody else, I fall down on those kinds of goals. And the reason for me is that they're not set with, very solid intentions or purpose behind them. So that's just one example. There's other, a million other examples of ways that I have set goals and they haven't worked out for me. But that's, I think, one really good example that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to.
Well, and I know that, so I tend to set goals for the year. And notice we're using the word goals versus resolutions, just
Mm,
because there's a lot more sort of systems and information attached to goals, but I'm also sort of using them interchangeably for our purposes, not for the purposes that the world uses those words, but
yep.
for our purposes, I'm using them interchangeably. But I set certain goals for the year, and quite a few, and I try to balance them between, fun things and not fun things, and things I have to do and things I should do and things I want to do. But one thing I find to be so demoralizing is to come around to the following year and just be like, oh, I'm just going to cut and paste this list for the next year because I haven't actually done any of those things. And so, part of that might be the why behind it isn't strong enough. A lot of it has to do with priorities and whether I'm making that goal a priority. But it's more than that, because our lives, we can prioritize. Like, so I'll just say it, like, I need to get a will. It is super irresponsible that I don't have a will. I don't have a medical power of attorney. I don't have a will. I don't have all that whole package of goodies that we need as an adult. It is not because I have some weird association with death and those things. I don't. It's because I do not prioritize it. I get overwhelmed with the process, even being a lawyer and knowing, like, okay, and frankly, I could probably draft my own medical power of attorney because I have access to forms. Like, there's certain things that all I really need is a notary. And then some things I need a lawyer. So it's an overwhelming process. I think sometimes it makes me sad, not the death part, but just that I'm doing this on my own. There's all of the stuff associated with it. But either way, I need to work my way through it and get it done and get it off my lengthy to-do list, right? Because it just keeps stalking me and following me. And so some of that, though, is figuring out, and then there's time and there's money, right? A lot of the goals that we set require time, and many of them also require money. That, whether it's joining a gym or eating more healthily, like, that's more expensive, or whatever it is. And these are not things that we necessarily think about when we are creating that goal, right? So I need to get a will. Well, we're looking at probably $1,000 with all of the paperwork that I want done, at least probably $500 to $1,500. So there's phone calls that need to be made, and there's things that need to be written down. And honestly, I'm probably farther along than I think I am, because I have talked to who I want to be, like, the financial trust person, and who I want to be the medical power of attorney. Like, I've actually done some of the things, but it also means setting aside the money, making sure I have the money, finding a lawyer, even though I kind of have a lawyer and I'm just dragging my feet, like, all of these things. And I need to figure out, like, why aren't I doing, what's holding me back? Sometimes it is the money because I don't prioritize it. Sometimes maybe it is weird feelings that I'm not addressing, but it's not because I'm a failure, right? And it's not because it's not even a goal that I don't want to achieve. I genuinely want to take care of these adulting things and get them off my list. I will feel lighter and relieved. Like, I know that. I also know that, like, they're not fun things to do, but maybe it's a matter of, like, making sure I'm working with a lawyer that I'm good friends with, and that would be fun. Like, having conversations with friends, who knows? But there's lots of reasons we don't achieve goals and our resolutions. And they're rarely because we don't want to. And they're often even rarely because we don't want to enough. It's that we so often are setting ourselves up for failure by not figuring out what steps we need to take, not making them small enough, not having the systems in place, but also not having fun with what we're trying to achieve. obviously I'm using a will as an example. I don't really know where I'm going to weave in the fun to that one, but like, but maybe there's a fun reward. I know, Riley, you and I have set goals and had said, okay, when we do this, I think it's actually this goal. Like when we do this, maybe we'll meet for a massage at the end as like a celebration. Like there can be ways that but you need to take the time to like figure out who you are. And I know I'm rambling now, but like we've all read the books. And if you haven't, I can say I've read all the books, but like if you've read Atomic Habits, you've read Burnout, maybe you've read some of John Maxwell's books, or now Malcolm Gladwell, or like whoever you've read, you may have read all of these inspirational books. And there's a difference though between reading it and knowing what you need to do and then actually being able to do it.
Yeah. And I just want to jump in and say, maybe you haven't read any of the books, and maybe you haven't even listened to the books or, participated in anything ever before, and that's okay too. So it could be the case that you simply struggle to set and meet goals. All of these are perfectly acceptable ways of being. And you fit into the group either way. So our goal with this group is to help you figure out what your goals are, how to set them, and how to reach them, right? It sounds very simple. It's actually very simple to do in the sort of upper level thinking part, much harder to do in the subconscious doing part. And so that's what the group is about. Because as we're, explaining to you, and as Tova just gave you a good example of, we're there with you. We have been through this process on multiple levels. We have read the books, or we've listened to the books, or we participated in other classes doing these kinds of processes in our own lives, and in figuring out what works and what doesn't. And so we're creating a system that will help you in the process of setting, understanding, and achieving the goals that you want to achieve this year. And the reason that we know this will work for you is because it's not just sort of a set it and leave it program, right? It's not just a program where you go, okay, this is my goal, and now I'm just going to sit back and it's all going to work out. It will work for you if you work for it. And so that's what we're explaining to you guys today. And we hope you sign up and join us in this program whenever you watch this or you learn about our group. Because we want you to sort of break this cycle of unmet potential that we've experienced in our lives. And we're sure, if you're watching this, we're sure you've gone through this process too, of what Tova was explaining before, of, you get to, whenever it is that you set your goals, you get to that point and you're like, oh, I still have these 10, 15, 20, however many things I said I was going to accomplish last year that I haven't actually done. And now I'm going to put them back on my list. And it is, sort of a debilitating feeling to have to do that again. I know I've been there. I particularly struggle myself with like making doctor's appointments and like the administrative tasks of life. I don't know why. It's something I struggle with. I think it's because I just hate talking on the phone. It's just something I don't enjoy. And so those things tend to like build up over time. And then I have a whole huge chunk of them to do, and it becomes a whole drama for me to like get through, and I make it harder for myself than it has to be. But whatever it is in your life, like it, if you need a will, of which so many people do, or if you need to research colleges with your kid who's going off to college in a couple of years, and that can be super emotional to have to do. And sometimes those things that require a lot of emotional energy get put on the back burner. So to move on to kind of, what is this group going to do for you?
I want to add one more thing.
Yes, jump in, Tova.
Because we are going to do everything that we've just talked about. We're also going to, before you even, and maybe I am jumping, but I don't think I am. We're going to talk about like meaningful goals and the meaning behind goals. And I'm just going to use myself as an example again. So for many years, I've set a certain number of books to read as my goal. Because I wanted to read more, and I love a good challenge. And Last year, I actually set a much lower number than I had previously set, and I hit the highest number of books I've ever read in a year. But I still wasn't, I did pretty good last year, pretty well last year. But what I realized is my goals for reading have nothing to do with numbers and everything to do with making sure, yes, I'm finding comfort in the books that I read because it is such a safe place for me, but also that I'm also reading books that are stretching me, that are taking me outside of my comfort zone. And so what I've realized this year is my goals for reading have nothing to do with the number of books that I've read and everything to do with what books I have read. And so I'm just going to add that too, like we will, and then I'll turn it back to you, Riley, because you're probably going to say what I'm saying right now, but more eloquently, but we will, we're going to be digging into the systems, but we're also going to be digging into like, does that goal make sense? Is that goal going to serve you? So when you look back on this a year later, after you've gone through the challenge with us, no matter when you start, hopefully you'll commit to a year. Is it going to have gotten you to where you actually wanted to get to, or is it arbitrary? So we're going to dig into all of that, which I'm very excited about doing.
Yeah, exactly. And so as you know, as Tova was saying, it's the group itself is meant to create a feeling of support for you. So one of the things that I know causes me to fail at my goals is a lack of accountability. So I struggle with motivation. Like I still struggle to figure out what motivates me to accomplish things other than me wanting to do them, right? And so I do know though, if somebody is waiting on me or waiting for me to say I've done something, or if somebody's going to check on me and be like, "Hey, did you do that thing you said you were going to do?" I'm far more likely to actually do it because I don't like to not fulfill my obligations, right? Like it's just I don't like that feeling. It feels yucky. And so I really believe in accountability. And I believe that being accountable to yourself is very helpful, but also being accountable to other people will drive the process forward for you. And so our group provides that level of accountability that is going to help you figure out one, what goals you even want to set, and two, do those goals make sense? And three, how are you going to keep yourself committed to what you've decided it is that you want to do that week, that month, that year, that you're in this group? And so with the group, you get added to a group chat on WhatsApp, and you get daily sort of motivational updates that will help push you forward in your goal setting. So whatever it is, and your goal could be anything. I mean, it could be to make sure you set all your doctor's appointments for the year to get your preventative care, which we fully encourage. It could be to change jobs. And so whatever that breaks down into, like getting your resume updated, getting some life coaching and some executive skills coaching, whatever that breaks down into, goals could vary from anything. So not everyone's going to have the same goals, but the techniques are very similar. It doesn't matter what your goals are. And so you'll have access to that. And then you'll also be invited to a live Zoom call at the beginning of the month for you to set your goal and to review what your goal was for the previous month. And then on the third week of the month, you'll be invited to a live Zoom call to review sort of where you're at in your progress for the month. This is a way of keeping on track, right? This is a way of communicating with us, with talking to us, hearing where you're at. You can ask us any questions you want to ask us about what's going on with your goal progress, how you're feeling, how you're doing in your process. And so we can have some real interaction and conversations about what it is that you're working on in your life.
Well, and one thing that I'm excited, about the group, I mean, there's a lot of things I'm excited about it,
Yeah.
but, you had mentioned accountability. Accountability can look different for different people. So someone may check in each day because they feel like they're accountable to other people. Someone may just take what is posted each day as like a gentle reminder. Other people may be fueled because they're a little competitive. and they see other people achieving goals and they want to make sure they kind of keep up with the Joneses. And while maybe we need to dig a little deeper on the competitive thing, we all learn how we can be held accountable and like what motivates us. And I don't like motivation in as a source to get yourself to do things, because I think, it's a poorly described way for inspiration, and it's just awful because we all think, oh, well, we should be motivated, as if that's like a thing, which it's not. But there can be different things that do get us to do things on our list, whether it's habit stacking or tapping into our competitiveness or whatever it is. And so we're going to figure it out. The other thing though is, the group, we're going to talk about a lot of different things, right? We're not going to set goals at the beginning and then each month be like, okay, what'd you do? How'd you do it? I mean, we are going to ask those questions, but we're also going to talk about fear and how fear sometimes gets in the way. We're going to talk about rest and how important rest is as part of the process, both because you deserve rest, you are worthy of rest, everyone is worthy of rest, but also rest is necessary for productivity, right? Like you have to take time and rest to be productive. And so we are also going to give you, I'll tell you right now, there will be a goal that I set this year. I'm guessing Riley will have a goal she sets this year, and you will have at least one goal you set where you will realize halfway through the year it doesn't serve you anymore. And we will give you permission to let it go.
Yeah.
You can change the goal, you can tweak the goal, or you can just say goodbye to that goal because for whatever reason, it doesn't serve you. Maybe it is for a person that you are no longer, because we change sometimes. And sometimes those changes take 6 years and sometimes they take 6 hours. And suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, this doesn't make sense for me anymore. And so this is a place that you are able to not meet your goals, change your goals, and take rest while you do all of those things, but still hopefully reach those goals that you want to reach and figure out why you want to reach those goals and who do you look like after you reach those goals. Some of your goals will not change who you are. Some of them will change who you are, not who you are in your core, but like how you feel out in the world. And so we are just really, really excited. This is kind of a combination of a lot of the stuff that we have learned throughout our experience in our lives and the podcast. We do so much research for the podcast and we don't share, half of it because some of it's just not on topic. And so we're able to, bring that here, and we're really excited to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you're interested in joining the group, you can find it on our Instagram, you can find it on our website. You can sign up today and reserve your spot. Or you can, if it's after February 1st, you can join right away. And we would love to have you there. If you have questions, you can always reach out to us. You can find us on social media. You can find us on our website. Send us an email, whatever works for you, works for us. We would love to hear from you. And we would love to have you in the group.
And just one more thing, and I only say this because I got asked this question this morning. A lot of what we do does focus, I think, from a woman's perspective, partly because we are both identified as women. So that makes sense. But this group, especially of all the things we're doing, could benefit anybody.
Yes.
No matter how you identify, and we could benefit from anybody because the more perspective I think that comes into this group, the better for learning from each other. So no matter, if men, women, non-binary, does not matter how you identify, this is an excellent place to be. I think more than really anything that we've offered before.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So, to that end, if you have questions or you're curious or you want more information, reach out to us anytime. And otherwise, we will see you in the group. And we are so excited to meet you. And we will talk to you all again very soon.